On this episode, we'll discuss using AI to extend your sermon beyond Sunday. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm your host, Kendall Connor, and we have a great episode planned for you today. It's not every day that we get to have someone from our Ministry Brands team joining us on the show, so I'm super thrilled about that. He's also a returning guest to Church Leadership Lab, and so we get to hear today from the one and only Jonathan Talley. If you have not connected with Jonathan before, let me tell you a little bit about him. Jonathan Talley is the manager of product management here at the Ministry Brands team, where he gets to help develop technology that supports churches and ministry leaders in their mission to reach people and make a lasting impact. He also serves as the lead pastor of Vibrant City Church, a church that he and his wife planted in 2021. So he's got that experience in both the product leadership side and in local ministry. And so he gets to bring this just really ministry first perspective to the tools that are being built here at Ministry Brands. He's always got that practical, thoughtful, helpful approach for the things that he creates and gets to be a part of for these churches. I'm really excited to have him talking with us today as we discuss using AI to extend your sermon beyond Sunday. And so before we jump in, I'd like to encourage all of you listeners out there, be sure to hit that follow button wherever you are enjoying our show. We want to make sure that you're subscribed so that you stay in the loop as we continue to release these conversations and helpful resources. That is really the best way to make sure that you do not miss a thing. So, hey, without further ado, let's welcome Jonathan Talley. How are you, Jonathan? Thank you for talking with us today.
Hey, good, Kendall. Thanks so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to have you on here to talk with us. You are a returning guest, so how's it feel to be back?
Hey, man, I absolutely love being on the podcast. You're a great host, and you make me not so nervous, so I love it.
Oh, you don't have to be nervous. That's awesome. I went back this morning and I actually watched your previous episode where we got to talk about some outreach ideas and things like that you had done in your
Yeah.
church. So that was really fun. I encourage anyone who's listening, if you haven't listened to that episode, it's worth a listen. Go back and check it out. I was thinking it was like back in episode in the 90s. I remember it was in those are the episode numbers in the 90s. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
go back and find that. So yeah, it's been a little minute. But I'm excited.
Yes.
We asked you last time, what's something that doesn't make that public bio that all your family and friends would know about you? Last time, I think you shared with us some about your pets. So I'll leave anyone who hasn't heard that episode in suspense to go back and listen to that part. But maybe you got a new answer for us today.
Hey, I do. And it's actually a new one for me because I would not have expected this the last time I was on the podcast. But I love DIY projects at home. Um,
Yeah.
I I have 5 kids, right? And a wife who loves to send me Pinterest ideas and TikToks of all these other dads doing these at home projects. And so this year I've really been doing a lot of DIYs, and I've loved it.
That is awesome. I feel like I try to be that person, but I don't always succeed. I'll just leave it at that. But I admire that in you. I got to know what's like the latest project that you're proud of that you did.
Listen, man, I'm not saying I would put any of these on Instagram, okay? But
That's fair. That's fair.
the last one I'm actually really proud about is we created a garden. My wife sent me this outdoor garden, created, just using some lumber
Yeah.
and some hanging string lights, and it actually turned out really, really good. I'm actually really impressed with it. The gate doesn't lock correctly, but it works, so it's there.
That's awesome. And I mean, what a perfect time of year too to go out there and enjoy something like that. So that's really cool. Not only are you part of the process of building things like software, but it sounds like you're good with the physical tools, right? Like with a hammer and nails and a drill. So that's awesome.
It depends on what you label as good, but yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm excited to talk about the subject of AI with you. I know that it's something that you're passionate
Yeah.
about. It's something that I've seen just how powerful it can be for ministry over these past few years. Before we get into kind of the practical side of AI, artificial intelligence, Would you give us just a little bit of maybe your background? What has led you to spend so much time thinking about how churches can use technology more effectively in ministry?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a unique advantage that I have here, especially at Ministry Brands, because I'm a pastor, but I'm also a product leader. And so I
Yeah.
understand what Sunday looks like, but I also understand what Monday looks like as well. And the
Yes.
reality of what happens to a church staff Monday morning, the reality of what hits them first thing Monday morning when they're in the office. And so I get the idea of limited time, limited people, limited resources, but we have this enormous mission to go into the world and preach the gospel and make disciples
That's right.
for Jesus, right? And so, professionally, I've spent a couple of years around technology and specifically product management at Ministry Brands, and those two worlds have just naturally collided for me. And so, I've become fascinated with how technology can remove friction for the everyday ministry leader, the everyday pastor. How can
Yes.
we spend more time doing ministry and less time worrying about all of the different tools and things that I need to try to coordinate throughout the week to make that happen?
Yeah. I'll echo that a little bit in my own story because I too serve in my local church, right? But then also getting to come to work on Monday and not only be able to serve my own church, but be able to serve churches that are all over with its technology and all these different things. It's a really unique perspective that I feel like really helps to know like what tools and things like that would actually be useful to the people that are out there serving in their communities. And so I love that, and then also the side of it, Jonathan, I love your heart and that you do have that passion to be a part of creating something that's actually useful, right? That
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna save them time. And
for sure.
I think it's fair to go ahead and just say right out of the gate that like really sparked this episode is that Ministry Brands actually has a new AI tool that's available, right? That's something that
That's
you and your
right.
team have been working on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Amplify Equip. I'm so excited about Amplify Equip because not only is it a tool that has helped me during the development process, but I know it's a tool that's going to help so many different ministry leaders do ministry better and more efficiently. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Well, I mean, I feel like AI has been, been an incredibly quick journey over the past few years. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a topic of conversation in the church world for sure, but almost anywhere, right? It seems like I'm hearing
Yeah.
about it in every different avenue of life. What are
Yeah.
you seeing right now in terms of how churches, ministries are actually using AI? And, what do you think maybe the biggest opportunities are?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kendall. I think that a lot of churches are still in that like discovery phase, right, of AI. They're still
Mm,
like experimenting with AI.
yeah,
I mean, everybody knows ChatGPT, right?
yeah.
Um, help me say this a little nicer to a volunteer, right? Or help me write this email a little better. Maybe
Yeah,
it's, creating different social content or discussion questions, some type of written type of content. I think I think churches are still experimenting with what the power of AI can actually help with their ministries. And
yeah.
so it's a huge opportunity, I think. Um yeah,
I think of, in just in terms of saving time, right? Like, I think
yeah,
many of the ministry leaders that are listening to this today, they would say that like they want the advantages, right? They wanna be able
mhm,
to save time on things. They wanna be able to even produce better content. You mentioned, like,
yeah.
writing an email or, like, make something sound better. I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, like, there's no doubt, like, I'm just thinking, how many times I've done that myself, right, for,
Right.
various things. It legitimately helps. And you mentioned there's just a lot of experimenting. I'm sure that many ministry leaders would say that they've tried, writing with this or, like editing with
Right.
this. What
Right.
would you say are maybe some of the mistakes, the common mistakes that you've seen churches making as they have started using this kind of stuff?
Yeah, I actually, Kendall, I have 3 common mistakes that I'll lean in here if that's okay.
Yeah,
Not
for
that this
sure.
was a sermon by any means, but um, the pastor's coming out in
I
me,
was about to
Kendall.
say the lead pastor coming in here with 3 points. Okay, we're here for it. We want to know.
If you're taking notes today, mistake number 1, using AI just because it's AI, right?
Mm,
Um, starting, you got to start with the ministry problem. Don't start with AI. There's a lot of people that I've seen using AI for the simplicity of I just want to use AI to create something, right? You've
yeah.
got to start with the problem that you're trying to solve because there are different tools that are answers or solutions to different problems. ChatGPT is not the answer to every problem that you have, although we like to think it is. And so don't just use AI because it's AI. Mistake 2 is confusing generation with quality. And this is huge,
Mm,
especially for me. I love the digital world. I love the church online space, the media and graphic space of churches, right? But we both know that there are just some AI tools that were not created to create flyers for your church, right? They were
yeah.
not created
That's
to create social media posts. It's just not quality content, and not every AI tool is going to be able to tell you that it is or isn't quality content. And then mistake number 3, which I think is actually huge for ministry leaders today, is removing humans from the process,
mm,
especially in ministry, right? AI doesn't know your congregation. AI wasn't sitting at the hospital bed when or when somebody was passing away. AI
mm,
doesn't understand the pastoral context behind your message for Sunday, right? And so
yes.
AI should really accelerate discernment, but not replace discernment.
Some really good points that you brought up. And I mean, I think maybe we're at the point in the journey of AI and like the public generally, seeing its use and things like that, where I think maybe any of our listeners today would be able to say that they've certainly seen maybe a graphic that's on social media or a flyer that's been made in your neighborhood or something like that, that,
Yeah,
you could tell like it just wasn't quite right, and to
yeah.
your point, right, like,
They
just
got 6
because
fingers or something, right?
yes, yeah, for sure, so it is a good lesson to say that, just because it was generated doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is there, but man,
Right.
you really spoke to it when you said that, it won't replace, it cannot replace the
That's
genuine
right.
ministry, of a human being, and so, yeah, that to know it can put together, something that can be helpful, but we can't lose that human side of it. So that's a really good point. Um,
Absolutely. And maybe if there was like a 4th key point, like bonus, like it doesn't replace the Holy Spirit, right?
mm,
And I
yeah,
don't think that ministry leaders are trying to do that today, but it can be
right.
very, very easy to slip into allowing AI to decide things. And so you just got to be super careful there.
Yeah, that's good wisdom. Well, I mean, I know that one idea that I've heard you emphasize before on this subject is that churches, they're already creating a lot of great content every single week, right? Like,
That's right.
I think about you making a sermon every single week, right? Why do you think that most churches are only scratching the surface of what they could really do in terms of this content that they're already making?
Yeah, Kendall, that's such a great question. I mean, when I think about like preparing for a sermon myself, think about how much goes into just preparing a sermon for Sunday, right? You're first praying and asking the Holy Spirit to guide you and lead you into what type of message He would want you to deliver. You're
Yeah,
studying it, you're researching it, you're writing it, you're coming up with stories that will help emphasize your points. You're checking the theological application of it. You're looking at different illustrations. How is this going to apply to the single mom in my church? Or how is this going to apply to, the young teenager who's trying to get through high school?
right.
And there is a lot of time that goes into that preparation. I mean, on average, pastors are spending 10 to 20 hours plus preparing a
Wow.
single Sunday message. And then we do something every single week. We preach that message 30 to 40 minutes, or if you grew up in a church like me, maybe 1 to 2 hours. But they
That's a
preach it
long
one
message.
time. That's a long message. They preach it one time, and by Monday it's gone. We're working on next Sunday's message, right?
Yes.
And that one piece, that one sermon, that one piece of content that we spend so much time on, has the potential to reach so many more people, has the potential to be used in so many more creative ways.
Mm.
And we're not working on that throughout the week. I mean, the sermon might be the most valuable piece of content that a church ever creates, and we
Wow.
underutilize what a church can actually do with it every single week. And so when I think about that, I think about, you know, this really gives us the opportunity to do something different, because what used to take so much effort to repurpose something, like think about it for a moment. You have a sermon on Sunday, you have to have somebody transcribe it, right? Then you have to
Yeah.
have somebody sitting down with, I don't know, Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere Pro, and you're cutting a bunch of different clips out of
Yes.
it, right?
I've been there. I've been there.
You've been
I've been
there.
that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it takes a lot of time, right? You're
Yeah.
writing devotionals or study guides, creating social media posts. And what large churches were able to do is build teams around
Mm.
all of that content generation, right? And so AI makes a content strategy. It really changes the economics, because it creates a strategy that what used to require a large communications department to do, now a church with maybe one communications person, or with maybe just one person, the pastor on the staff, now
Yeah.
they're capable of doing something they weren't once able to.
I think of all of the different roles, all of the different tasks that I personally have participated in the life of serving in ministry, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can remember when the short form videos became a popular thing and for churches to use on social media and things like that. And I
That's
can
right.
remember actually having to make a point on Sundays during the messages, hearing from our lead pastor at the time,
Yeah.
sitting there and taking notes and thinking like, man, okay, I could use that on social media, or man, that would be a really great clip. But I literally was doing that manually, and I think of
Yeah.
just the tools that are available for things like this now. I feel like, well, we've just come so far, and man, to be able to use that time on things that are more productive, like leading people and
That's right.
ministering to people and things like that, rather than the nitty gritty details. It just makes me think of, when a church begins to think about that sermon not only as something for Sunday morning, but something that can
Yeah.
can continue to minister to people throughout the week. There's a lot of opportunity. Can you speak to what maybe that could look like? Is it clips? Is it social media posts? What have you seen for this?
Yeah, and Kendall, I have to back up and say one thing. I used to screenshot my phone at a good moment to like screenshot the time, so I knew what timestamp to go look for that
Wow,
particular
wow.
clip. But I
So
mean,
you know too.
exactly.
You've been there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, really, what happens is Sunday isn't the finish line anymore. It really becomes the starting line for the rest of the week, right? And
Yeah,
so, what you can do with that one sermon really is create content every single week. Think about a typical week. Sunday, you hear the sermon, right?
yeah,
Monday, maybe you see a short clip online from the sermon. Maybe Tuesday, you receive a devotional from the pastor in your email that helps apply the sermon. Wednesday, your small group might be discussing it. And then Thursday, you see a social media post that reminds you of the key scripture. And you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that scripture. Friday,
wow.
maybe you're sending the clip to a friend who really needs to hear the message, right? And you're creating reinforcement from that one single message. I mean, how many times have we walked into church and we've completely forgotten what the pastor preached about last week? And we're like, oh, yeah,
Mm,
we're in that series. I have to like pull out my
right.
notes, right? This is a huge opportunity to create reinforcement and actually help people learn and apply the message to their daily lives. And so we're not trying to create seven different messages. We're helping people encounter the same truth several different ways throughout the week with that one piece of content.
A couple of quick things that come to mind with this. Number one, your message on Sunday morning for in its most to say it in the most simple way, say you have 100 people in the room. Right there in that moment, it has the capacity just to reach those 100 people. 100 people in that room are going to hear it at
Yeah.
that time. And I just think like, man, I get excited about the idea. I think I preach several times a year in our church, and I think about the idea of how hard you work on that message and the heart that I've poured into it. Just
Yeah.
knowing that that message could reach beyond those 100
Right.
individuals that were in the room, where
Yeah.
it gets me excited about the idea that, you get to speak and carry that message on to more people. And so I would almost even say, like, while it does not require this, man, you could really start putting that heart and taking that heart posture in your preparation, even of not
Mm,
only am I going to be speaking to the people of the room, but man, I get to speak to our online community with this. I get to, meet
uh,
people on Monday when they're going through that tough time, and even making that your prayer from the very beginning, because you know that you've got the power on the back end of being able to take it and stretch this message even further.
that's right. That's so impactful to think, man, it really is not just the four walls of our church. We're
Hmm.
able to
Yeah.
multiply and amplify, for a lack of better terms, our message
Yeah.
beyond our church, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
super powerful.
I even think, Jonathan, about how different people receive, or they learn differently than other people, right? And so,
Yeah,
like, for some
that's
people,
that's right.
hearing that message on a Sunday morning, hearing that spoken word is maybe the number one way that they are able to take in that information and process it. But there's going to be
Yeah,
some people that I guarantee are already in your ministry, that
yeah,
a social media post in a visual form on a Monday could even, I would say, like, speak to them more effectively than something can spoken word on a Sunday morning. And so, like,
yeah,
being able to put it in these different formats, I think you
yeah,
said a email, right, where it's turned
right,
into a devotional, that may
exactly.
connect with people in a different way if that's the way that their brain kind of processes these different things, right?
That's right. I mean, I think back to some of the most memorable sermons that I've ever heard, even as a kid. I mean, I can think back to being a teenager and remember my pastor talking about Peter walking on water and he had a boat on the stage, right? It was a sermon illustration that I still
Mm,
remember the exact scene today. And it just helped
yeah.
me really understand the point of that message. And so that's exactly what you're doing when you create different forms of content and you're delivering it via different mediums, different ways to deliver the content. There's an actual truth to what you're saying there. I mean, I love it.
I love a good illustration. So now I want to bring a boat out on stage or something, Jonathan. That's awesome.
Come on. Make it
So
rain from the ceiling.
there Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think about, if you have a pastor prepares a message right now, can you just
Yeah.
give us a practical example? What could an AI powered workflow look like from that point forward? Sunday's over. He's preached the message. They preached the message. What could it look
Yeah.
like to kind of use some of these tools, whether it be the ministry brands tools or
Yeah.
other AI assistants and things like that are available?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll just walk through like what it would look like for me with Amplify Equip a little bit on
Yeah.
a weekly basis is number one is um I'm preparing for that message, right? And so I have the opportunity to take a look at the passage that I want to study. I'm coming up with the sermon outline. I'm using Equip to help me study and find illustrations and theological applications. I preach my message on Sunday. Our video team is capturing that or we're recording the audio from that. And I can import or upload that audio or that video right into Amplify Equip. And automatically I get a transcription, right? And now I have written text of what I preached on Sunday. And that written text can now be analyzed to create a ton of different other written content, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it's pulling out the main scripture, the big idea, the key points, some of the quotes that I said, some of the stories that I used, and now I can create content from that, right? I can create short form clips for social media. I can create social media posts with some of the quotes from the message. Maybe it's a devotional or a discussion guide like we talked about, but even taking it a step further, creating a blog for our website. So somebody's searching on Google, how do I get rid of anxiety? Maybe the message was on anxiety and suddenly our
Hmm.
website pops up. Maybe it's looking at sending an email recap of everything that happened on Sunday or helping provide a YouTube description for that same exact thing, right? YouTube is like the largest search engine in the world today,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Wow.
being able to create descriptions for that or study questions, And after I create that content, then I can, if you're like me, I like to review everything at my church before it goes out to the masses, and so use workflows to review and approve any type of content that's being created. Right, Equip helps us with that, monitoring what type of content's being created, and allowing multiple people to work on it, and then I can publish it. So it's really taking, again, that one piece of content and going
Yeah.
through a full Sunday throughout the week workflow, publishing it to multiple different places.
Something that I appreciate about what you just said is a lot of times when I think about these AI tools, I think about one person, and it can
Yeah,
100% amplify what one person's efforts could be. And so if you're that lead pastor who preached that message and you want to take that and expand it, but I love that you spoke to the fact that at least on this AI tool with Amplify Equip, you're able to have multiple people that can get involved on this. And so you 100% could have that volunteer, could have that staff member who takes
that's
that
right.
message that the pastor preached on Sunday, and then they are able to take that tool and to be able to use the different things. And you mentioned that there's even like some approvals that you can build in so that, if the pastor wants to review the devotional that was created or the blog post that was created off of that content, they 100% can. And so
That's
to
right.
me, that
Yeah.
that just means that whatever the size of your team, this is something that can be effective for you.
Absolutely. It works for the one pastor that's doing everything from cutting grass to creating social media posts and preaching to larger teams who have full communication teams.
One thing that I do want to revisit too that you said is that you were talking about even something as simple as a blog post. I think
Yeah.
that is such a really good idea for a way to repurpose this content because I think about, I've done blogs for many, many years, and I think about how,
Yeah.
when you put that online, how much it can be helpful for people who are looking for the kind of content that what did you speak to? You said, anxiety. How do I get rid of my
Yeah.
anxiety? That's what people are Googling, right? That's what
Right.
they're looking up
Exactly.
during the week, and they're saying like, "Man, how can I do this?" And
That's
how
right.
amazing is it that, like you were able to translate your message from that into something that they may be searching for? Because something that I would say is they may not automatically make that connection of like, okay, if I'm dealing with anxiety, I should go and try to find a sermon where someone mentioned that. But instead, in having a blog post that speaks directly to it, that's based off of that message, might
That's
just
right.
reach that person right where they're at, right?
Absolutely. And then you keep them engaged on your website, right? You can
Yes.
link to the full sermon, link to the full message,
Yes.
or link to smaller clips. And now they're on your church website and you have such an opportunity to get them in the door. It's a huge way to expand ministry outside the four walls of the church for sure.
Let me ask you this, and I know that you've preached many a message before. How do you decide which pieces of the sermon are actually worth repurposing? I mean, is it what did you say? You took a screenshot. I was having my notebook out, trying to jot down. Is there a difference
Yeah.
between, just making more content just for the sake of content versus like doing something intentional?
Yeah, that's a great question. I often look for a central thesis. I look for maybe it's a memorable phrase. I love memorable phrases. I always try to like rewrite my key points so there's something that you would like back in the good old days tweet out, right? Um,
Yeah.
Maybe it's an emotional moment. Maybe it's a practical application or a story that just really relates to somebody. I try to amplify what matters, right? We don't have to like cut up everything and put it out online, but what are the things that are going to really relate to people? And not just because AI says it's engaging, right? The goal isn't content multiplication, it's message amplification. It's getting the message, it's getting the point out. And so if somebody would say, hey, I saw that 45-second clip on social media, does it faithfully represent what we're trying to communicate from that particular message? So it's not everything,
Yes.
but what are
Yeah.
those moments that you're trying to communicate?
Well, it makes me think, Jonathan. I got to know, just like when you do and you get up there and you're going to speak your message, when you're going to preach, are you like a manuscript kind of guy, or do you do bullet points? What's your style when you get up there to speak?
Man, it depends on how I'm feeling. Really, I've gone
That's
back
fair.
and
That's
forth.
fair. Okay.
I've I've gone back and forth. I heard a pastor say one time he memorizes his manuscript, and so when he gets up, he doesn't have any notes. And I always thought, man, that guy is amazing. He has no notes. He's just preaching, but no, he memorized the entire thing. I have a terrible memory, and when I'm on the stage with a bunch of lights and a bunch of people in front of me, the stage fright still hits me a little bit. So I have different portions where I just have bullet points, and then I have different portions where
Yeah.
it's a little manuscript. So yeah, and a little mix of both.
Whatever the style is, I feel like my hack for using these AI tools lately for to help with the messages, most of the time I would say I'm kind of like a manuscript kind of guy, but sometimes I'll,
Yeah,
keep it kind of simple, just jot down the main phrases. But what I
yeah.
recently did, just a couple of weeks ago, is for the first time, instead of having a jumbled mess of my all of my manuscript typed out, I used an AI tool to be able to take that and then turn it into like it's so clear. It was very clearly outlined. It had highlights. It had all the different things. And so when I actually got up
Wow.
there to be able to use it, it was laid out so perfectly. I could read it so easily, and I thought, man, I have really been missing out. This is so
That's
nice.
amazing. I love that.
So yeah,
That's
it
so
didn't it
cool.
didn't touch the content at all. It just like made it look really easy to read when
Yeah,
up there on stage. So that was a good
that's
hack.
so cool. I love that. Anything to make it easier up there is great. I love that. That's awesome.
Well, I know that like we get on the subject of AI, there's always concerns that pop up, and that's totally
Yeah,
fair. I don't want to take anything away from that. But one concern that I know that pastors may have is like if AI starts creating content from my sermon, like is it still going to be genuine? Is it still going to sound like me? How
yeah.
can churches use AI in a way that preserves the pastor's voice? It preserves the theology and the intent behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Kendall, this is so important, I think, especially as ministry leaders begin using AI in churches. And what I call
Hmm.
this is like guardrails for AI, right?
It's
How
good.
do I provide some guardrails? Because a lot of AI tools out there are just searching the worldwide internet, right? I mean, you can almost, and we've seen this, you can get AI to generate content really based on any point that you're trying to make, right? So how do you provide context? How do you provide guardrails? How do I provide theological stance or position on
Yeah,
what our church believes to AI? And
that's right.
so, and we've done this with Equip, right? You upload your statement of beliefs. You provide different translation preferences. You give
Yeah,
your denominational
smart.
information into it. It creates that guardrail, right? It allows you to give AI context. And so what I think is important is one, make it sound like you by uploading previous sermons, right? Upload previous sermons to AI, show it what you've done before. Always look at the theological framework of what you're feeding it, making sure that it aligns with what you believe. And then also what's your tone like, right? What's your vocabulary look like?
Right. That's
What's your
fair.
ministry philosophy? What are things that you don't want it to say or do, right? The more context that you give AI, the better the tool becomes for you. And so it should transform the pastor's content, but not become the pastor, right? It should allow the
Yeah,
pastor to create better content, or maybe more
it's good.
memorable content, help content flow better, but it shouldn't replace what you're trying to do. And so you don't want AI to intentionally replace any of the spiritual work that has gone into
Mhm.
preparing a message, or manufacture any type of revelation. There's a difference between asking AI to help me communicate something that God has put on my heart and asking AI to tell me what to communicate to the people.
I love that you mentioned just the word guardrails. I feel like that's the word to
Yeah,
take away from this is, you want to make
right,
sure that those guardrails are in place so that you're getting the results that you do want and you're keeping the things
right.
away that you don't. And so that's
That's right.
fair. It kind of leads into the next question that I wanted to ask, and I know that AI is especially helpful in so many different areas, but where do you believe that a pastor or a ministry leader still needs to provide their judgment and their oversight? What areas of that would be important for a ministry leader?
Yeah, for sure. Discernment, right? Theology,
Yeah,
pastoral sensitivity. I would say like final judgment of the content that you're creating, relationships, you have to think of AI as like a incredibly fast assistant.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah,
your pastor, it's not a
that's right.
theologian,
That's it.
it's not the Holy Spirit, but it's a really, really fast assistant. Something that I would manually do that could have taken hours, or even days can now be done in a matter of moments, seconds, or minutes. And so I believe you still have to have that human touch there.
Yeah, I think that's important that we don't lose that. Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the churches out there that have a small staff, maybe even that's like one person that's handling things like communications. Can you speak to communications at all? Like, how can AI make this kind of content strategy of doing something beyond just Sunday possible without having to, just bombard this person with a bunch of tasks, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the goal is automation and integration, right? The
Mm,
more things that you can automate and the more things that can integrate with your tool, the better it's going to be for especially a smaller staff. And so think about, you record the message, you download the message, you upload the message, you transcribe the message, you have to copy that transcript into another tool,
mm,
create prompts, you have to edit it. Maybe you're opening up some type of editor or graphic editor, and then you're scheduling it on social media. That's exhausting. That is
yes,
a lot of work, even for a small church. I mean, that's a lot of tools. It's a lot of
you're right.
different steps in one workflow. And what the future really needs to be is the sermon happened, the system automatically knows that it happened, and the assets that you create on a regular basis are automatically created for you. And at your fingertips,
Wow.
you have all of that right there.
Well, I mean, that it just makes me think. I recently just learned one of the what I think is most impressive features of Amplify Equip is that it plays well with the other tools that we have available, such as like the live streaming, right? So if I'm not
That's right.
mistaken, tell me if I'm wrong, Jonathan. If you're live streaming with our streaming solution, it can
Yeah.
automatically go into Amplify Equip, and it can do all of those steps you just mentioned all right there without you having to even think about it. Is that right?
That's 100% right, and that's why I love it so much. It's that integration point. I mean, I
I saw
stream and
that.
it
Oh,
just
man,
does it.
I heard about that, and I just thought, "Man, before you make it to lunch on Sunday,
That's
all of
right.
those steps that could literally in the past fill your entire Monday could already be done." And man, that is powerful, right?
It's huge. And I think it really leads into where AI is headed over the next few years, right? From this generative AI to like agentic AI, right? Where
Right.
AI is beginning to do things for me because it's what I always do. There's still this final stage of approval. There's still like, I click something, I have control of that, but it's
Wow.
beginning to guess what I want it to do. It's beginning to know here's the schedule, here's the church, here's the audience, here's the communication calendar, here's the groups that are involved. And then suddenly it's personalizing everything for me automatically. It's
Yeah.
automating follow up. It's helping me create intelligent sermon libraries and searchable church knowledge. It's translating the messages for me automatically, right? It's where churches start winning with AI, not necessarily because the church is using AI, but they're using it very intentionally, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where AI is headed over the next few years.
Jonathan, I love hearing that you're so optimistic about this as a lead pastor, as someone who's working with the software and all the things on the digital sides. It makes me optimistic too. It's encouraging for me to see,
Yeah,
how technology like this can really help real people serving in ministry. I know that there's a lot of like folks can be hesitant about new technologies and things like this, but more than anything, I think my heart it sounds like a little bit of like your heart posture on this is like, if this tool is available, I want to use it for ministry. I want to make sure that we're getting to
that's right.
reach as many people as we can in as many ways as we can, as fast as we
That's right.
can, and I hope that this tool and really any of the things that are released with this kind of thinking behind it. I hope it just puts rocket fuel on the mission that is, that makes up these churches and serving their communities. I hope it really just helps
Yeah.
us to impact more and more lives than maybe we even thought possible.
It makes me think of that old Israel Houghton song where it begins with the disciples only wish they had jets and cell phones and
Oh,
the
yeah, that's a
internet
good one.
and the
Yeah,
ability to take the gospel all over the world, right? I mean,
yeah.
what a unique opportunity, what a unique time to be living, to be able to take the gospel all over the world with the tools that are at our fingertips. We should use the tools that we have to our advantage in those ways.
Now I've gotta go listen to that song. I know the exact song that you talk about. I can't think of the name of it or that
I know, I
it's like
can't
a one
either.
moment in a live album.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that now.
I love
Well,
that.
Jonathan, for the church leader that's listening, they like the idea of extending their sermon beyond Sunday. But maybe they're just a little bit overwhelmed by all of this new technology and things like that. What would you encourage them to just maybe try first?
Yeah, absolutely. Just try one thing.
Mm,
Obviously, there's a lot of AI tools. There's a lot of things that you can do with AI, and it can be overwhelming to think about that. But just try one thing. And my recommendation would be just try uploading your sermon and getting a transcript from it and asking questions about the transcript, right? Like, hey,
yeah.
what was the big idea? What are some quotes from the message? And then review it. Just start with one workflow and go from there. Don't go out and buy 12 different AI tools. Don't redesign your church communication strategy. Just experience what is possible with one action today.
That's great advice. But one of the big themes for our podcast is healthy churches and healthy
Yeah.
leaders. I'd love to hear from you. What is, in your opinion, one essential component of a healthy church?
Absolutely. And this is something that I think I've been really learning myself is that a healthy church isn't measured by only how many people attend something, right? But by
Mm,
whether people are actually becoming more like Jesus. And
wow.
so attendance matters. Yes. Giving matters. Yes. Groups matter. Engagement matters. Those are just the indicators. The mission is transformation. Is life transformation happening? Yes or no. And technology can support discipleship, but technology can never become discipleship. And so discipleship
Mm,
ultimately happens through people,
yeah,
relationships, and the work of God in somebody's life.
man. So much good stuff there. Jonathan, one way that we love to kind of wrap things up is with a rapid fire final
Oh boy.
five. Okay. Can
Okay.
we go? Can you handle five rapid fire questions as we wrap things up?
I think so. Bring it
Okay.
on. Let's do it.
All right. What's one book on this subject or something similar that you'd recommend to ministry leaders?
I would say the future is faster than you think. I can't remember the author, but I'm sure you can
Okay. All
Google
right.
it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to give that a quick, I have to look that up on Amazon later today. All right.
There
What's
you
the
go.
last thing that you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to your music these days?
Elevation Rhythm, but I'm gonna have to go listen to Israel Houghton after this. So,
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Both solid options. Okay. What's your favorite piece of technology or software right now? I think I have an idea of what it may be.
I might be a little biased on this one, but it's definitely Amplify Equip.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love all that we've gotten to hear about it today, and man, it just makes me want to get in there and use it even more. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
Jonathan, what about a quote or maybe some advice that has stuck with you over the years?
man, that's a good one. I would say, and I think this applies to everybody, no matter what type of role you have, or whether you're in ministry or working somewhere else, is that you have to fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Okay, back up just really quickly. Explain that to us. What does that mean? You
Yeah,
said,
absolutely. Fall in love
say,
with the problem, not the solution. And
mm,
so I think oftentimes it can be very, very easy for us to fall in love with the way we're solving something. And oftentimes we miss that there may come better ways to solve something in the future. And so I have to
wow,
really understand the problem. I have to really understand why I'm trying to solve that problem because the solution might not always be the best solution. And so be willing to change as you grow.
man, that's really impactful. I think of the problem being, oh man, we need to reach more people in this community. But man, the
Yeah.
solution to that method may change over time.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
man, that's really good. Well, what's
Absolutely.
one thing that you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders today?
Definitely don't be afraid of technology. It's just a
Mm,
tool to take the gospel further, just like that Israel Houghton song, right? It's just an option. It's just a tool it doesn't change the mission. The mission isn't unchanged. It's just a new way to reach people. Exactly what you were just saying, Kendall.
yeah. Man, Jonathan, that's really good. That's some good wisdom for today. Jonathan, I know that people are going to want to hear more from you. They're going to want to hear more about Amplify, Equip, all these different ways. What's the best way for folks to stay connected to you?
Hey man, I love talking about what we're doing. You can always follow me on LinkedIn, send me an email, or even follow us on ministrybrands.com. We have a whole Equip page with all the updates there as well.
100%. I'll put all of those things in the show notes. I'll make sure that all your social links are there, and also the link to be able to check out more about Amplify Equip, because I know, man, I was checking out that page earlier today. There's free trials that are available. There's multiple plans to fit the different needs of your church, and also something that I'll let you guys know about is that we have an upcoming webinar that talks more about this, that dives into the subject even further, and so. I love
That's
what
right.
our team is able to do with that. So we'll link that webinar into the show notes as well. So definitely check that out. Register for that. It is free, and you can hear more about it. So I love these things, Jonathan. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure for sure. Listeners, be sure to check out all the resources in our show notes. We'll make sure that we'll put all the links there for that. And hey, I would tell you this, if this episode has encouraged you, if it's inspired you to kind of maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit and try some of these new technologies, or maybe giving you a couple ideas to try in your ministry, would you consider sharing it with a friend? That really helps us to keep equipping leaders just like you.
Yep.
Every share really goes a really long way. And so thank you for that. Also, remember, hit that follow button wherever you're enjoying our show. We want to make sure that you're subscribed. Until next time, keep leading well right there where you are in your community. And we'll see you right back here next time on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.